Hello, this is Royce Kennebrew, candidate for Michigan's 12th Congressional District. This is Dark Horse Politics Podcast, where we talk about all things politics and culture. And on this episode, episode 5, we are going to be talking about Donald Trump's disastrous interview at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Chicago. We are also going to talk about the 12 children who were killed in the Israel-occupied Golan district, where I haven't heard of any outrage. And lastly, we will be talking about updates from the Paris Olympics. Everybody get ready so we can learn something. Donald Trump headed to the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Chicago, and it was a complete and total terrible situation for the association. Roland Martin, a member of NABJ, said that he didn't want Donald Trump to be on stage and be interviewed there because of the way that he performs when the camera is in his face. And seeing what I saw today in that interview, I don't know, I'm kind of 50-50 because I wanted people to continuously see how Donald Trump behaves. But when you see how he behaves, you recognize that he isn't there to win any voters. He's there to talk to his base. Look at his response from the first question.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically, black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another 4 years.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here.
So as you can see, time and time and time again, Donald Trump will say, I have done more for the black community since Abraham Lincoln, but he will insult April Ryan. He will insult Abby Phillips. He will insult Yamis Alcindor. He will insult Don Lemon. He will insult LeBron James. He will insult these people over and over and over again. And you see what he does to Rachel Scott from ABC when she asks a question. It seems like Donald Trump is very sensitive, and he can't be asked a difficult question from a tough reporter, or he just loses it like a little baby. And so he goes on, and you see this type of line of attack that the MAGA wing is attempting to start against Vice President Kamala Harris. And let me say, it is the dumbest thing of all time. It's the dumbest thing of all time. He wants to say that up until now, she was Indian, and now she decided to be black. When she went to Howard, historically black college and university, when she went to and pledged, AKA, historically black sorority, Divine Nine, and my connection to the VP is that if you read my book, The Ghetto Grave Dodger, How Social and Emotional Learning Can Address Trauma, Decrease Violence, and Improve Struggling Schools, you're going to see that my first big speaking engagement was with an organization called the National Association of Black Prosecutors, National Black Prosecutors Association, excuse me. And from what I hear from my friends who were there, the vice president, well, she wasn't the vice president then, but she was a DA then. She was at those, I had spoken for them 3 years in Detroit, in Philadelphia, in Seattle. And as I understand it, she was there several of those times. I didn't get a chance to meet her, or I don't remember meeting her. But she was a member of this black organization. So during college, she associated black as African American or black. She's in a sorority, a black sorority, that continues her membership after school. Then she joins a black professional organization. I mean, what do you want her to do? Cook neck bones? How much more black do you have to get? Now listen at some of the foolishness that I have been hearing. Well, she ain't black. She's Jamaican. She ain't African American. Let me go full social studies teacher right now, right? If you are of African descent, and you may be born in Africa, or Brazil, or Canada, or Nigeria, and you come to America, you can claim to be African American. African is your bloodline that you connect to the continent of Africa, and America is where you currently are. If you want to claim that, you can claim that if that is your history. But people are trying, and it's very interesting to me. I didn't know we had a black police. I didn't know the FBI meant federal black investigators. I didn't know there were people who could determine who was black and who was not black. When these people who are saying, is she black, have no connection or doing anything positive for the African American community except having melanin in their skin. So people, cut it out. Cut it out. If you are Jamaican, that is of the African descent. You got off of the slave ship at a different time than the Africans did who came to America. As a matter of fact, the majority of Africans got off of slave ships in the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and Mexico. And only a small part, I think around 15%, came to the Americas as we know them. So when you try to make an argument about is someone African American or not, that's not really that smart when you're talking about Vice President Kamala Harris. The second thing, at her rally in Atlanta, Georgia, Quavo, rapper of the Migos, and Megan Thee Stallion performed for the Atlanta crowd. Now, it's Atlanta. You wanted Taylor Swift? Did you want Kid Rock? What did you want? Now, nobody had a problem, or the Trumpers didn't have a problem with Amber Rose speaking at the Republican National Convention, or Kid Rock singing, or Hulk Hogan hulking. But when there are different cultural icons that are used with Kamala Harris, it seems like people have a deep dislike or hate for this individual, and it doesn't make good sense. And if you are going to call on her record, please have the facts straight, because you don't have them straight. You don't have the facts straight. Get the facts straight. There was no significant change in the amount of African Americans in prison when Kamala Harris was the AG of California, then afterwards. I think it was like 0.2%, something like that. Something minuscule was the difference. As a DA, she actually had a program. I'm not sure if it was a DA or when she was the AG, had started a program and programming to be smarter on crime instead of tougher on crime for low-level offenses, not putting African Americans or anyone in jail for these low-level offenses, because recidivism is 50% or higher, meaning you come out and you go back to jail because you don't have any opportunity. But she created programs that served as an example for other prosecutors around the state, around the country, to duplicate. So get your facts straight. Get your facts straight when you're talking about the vice president. Now, let me say this before I move on to the next topic. What I am liking from Kamala Harris's campaign for president is how nimble she wasn't able to be at NABJ because of the untimely death of Sheila Jackson Lee and her being there. You know, when the president and the vice president go somewhere, it's not a spur of the moment thing. They have to get things cleared, right? Make sure it's safe. And so she is going there. Plus, she is going to nominate, or she is going to give her vice presidential selection for her presidential campaign this weekend by Monday, from what I understand. So she got stuff to do, so she wasn't able to be there. So if you are going to try and make an issue about her not being there, this is what I like about her campaign. This is what I like. They heard about the terrible performance of Donald Trump at the NABJ conference. And later, when she's speaking to the sorority Sigma Gamma Rho, Sorority Incorporated, she mentions his problem. That shows a nimbleness, a ability to add on the fly a critique of Donald Trump, which I believe is going to serve them well.
Donald Trump spoke at the annual meeting of the National Association of Black Journalists. And it was the same old show. The divisiveness and the disrespect. And let me just say, the American people deserve better. The American people deserve better. The American people deserve a leader who tells the truth, a leader who does not respond with hostility and anger when confronted with the facts. We deserve a leader who understands that our differences do not divide us. They are an essential source of our strength.
And so what we have seen from Vice President Harris is that the polls are tightening. She has gone ahead in some battleground states. She has become more competitive in states that they thought they were going to lose. And I am going to predict right now, I'm going to prognosticate that she is going to beat Donald Trump worse than Joe Biden beat Donald Trump in 2020. Young people are charged up. African-American women and men, which are the base of the Democratic Party, are charged up, exhilarated, and people are continuously making sure that people know all about this thing. And before I go on to the next issue, let me talk about Project 2025, because you know we do that. That's part of it, of Dark Horse Politics Podcast. I am finding, and I'm in it with and people on social media all the time. If something crazy comes across my timeline that is inaccurate about Project 2025, that is inaccurate about the Gaza war, that is inaccurate about VP Harris, that is inaccurate about anything that is important in regards to this political season and having people not succumb to misinformation, disinformation like they did in 2016, I am going on the assault to correct it. So some Trumper comes across my timeline on Facebook, and he's saying this and he's saying that, and I tell him, well, Project 2025 is talking about getting rid of the Department of Education. They're not going to get rid of the Department of Education. I'm like, that is what they propose. And so I went and got an article, I copied the link and posted it and said paragraph 2, where it said they want to dismantle the Department of Education. And of course, I haven't heard back from him on Facebook yet. But that is what we have to do. If you can't go out and knock on doors, if you can't phone bank, you can social media campaign. That's what you can do. All of these things that the Biden-Harris campaign is for, those are the things that I'm for in my particular campaign. Those are the things that I want. Those are the things that I have talked about. And we are going to talk next about a travesty that has happened in the Middle East. K-12 educators, are you looking for a way to increase the performance academically of your students and to improve their behavior so that they're able to be successful inside and outside the classroom? Well, if you are, I have an online course that is starting in the month of July. Stay tuned for details. This past weekend, a rocket was shot from Lebanon that landed in an Israeli-occupied territory to a soccer field and killed 12 Israeli children. Now, I bring this up because, and first let me say that months ago, I called for a regional ceasefire where Houthi rebels were to disarm and stop shooting at ships in the Red Sea and shooting and attacking American and other NATO service people. I've called for a ceasefire with Hezbollah in the north, the shooting into northern Israel. I have in occupied territories. I've called for a ceasefire for Hamas and a ceasefire for Israel so that Palestinians can get the relief that they need, the humanitarian relief that they need, the water, the food, the housing, the electricity, all of the things that they need to live in the Gaza Strip. as well as for Israeli hostages to be released. So let me say this. Why there's some dumbbell every time I'm asking the question on why is this coverage skewed against Israel, that somebody wants to say something about AIPAC. So 12 kids get killed, that I point out that 12 Israeli children were killed senselessly. And because I point that out, that I'm being funded by AIPAC, that's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. If there were 12 black kids, if there are 12 Israeli kids, if there are 12 Palestinian kids, if there are 12 Brazilian kids that were killed for no reason, I'm going to speak out about it. And I don't have to be given money because I do that. If I'm concerned about humanity and humanitarian efforts, that's the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. Oh, did AIPAC fund you to say that 12 Israeli kids were killed? No, they did not. And it's still a travesty. Where's the marching? Where's the signs? Where is the blocking of college campuses? And let me add this question. How does blocking a college campus from a Jewish student have anything to do with what's happening in Israel, in the Middle East, in the Gaza Strip? I didn't get that part. What is a Jewish kid at Berkeley, at Michigan, at Yale, blocking them from coming on campus? What does that have to do with anything with what is happening in the Middle East? It has nothing to do with it. I have full belief in the autonomy of Israel, of them protesting, if you're watching the news, the handling of the war of Benjamin Netanyahu, and Israelis are protesting that. I have full belief that they could protest and manage themselves. So the question then, again, is where's the protest for these 12 kids? I don't hear any of it. I don't see any of the tweets and the videos and things like that. And I did see the response from Israel. You think you're not going to get the response that you killed 12 kids and there's not going to be a response? This is a war. And that's what happens in war. And I hope that they are able to come to some agreement so that peace can come to that region. K-12 educators, are you looking for a way to increase the performance academically of your students and to improve their behavior so that they are able to be successful inside and outside the classroom? Well, if you are, I have an online course that is starting in the month of July. Stay tuned for details. I am excited about the culture part of our episode this week, this episode 5, because it consists of our discussion of the Paris Olympics. Man, it is so exciting. I wanted to be there, just couldn't make it this year. Swing the financial part of it really because of the campaign and because some financial stuff didn't happen for me with my government contracts. That happens at the beginning of the year because of the Republicans messing around with the budget. It actually screwed me up and actually really screwed up the campaign a lot for me. But, not going to worry about spilled milk. But excited about what's happening. Really, we're about the halfway point in the Olympics. So happy about what I've seen in regards to gymnastics with, of course, our women back on the top of the podium for the team competition, the men getting the bronze in the team competition. Really exciting. Simone Biles being Simone Biles. She is the queen bee of gymnastics indeed. So excited about that. Happy about also, just seeing the men's basketball and how, when they turn it on, they're really hard to beat. Almost lost to South Sudan though. But it's going to be hard to beat those guys. You have, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, you have LeBron James and those other guys that are really, really good NBA championship winners on that team. That's going to be hard to beat. But the early part of the games, also Sister Simone Emanuel got her a relay goal. So happy to see that as well. But I'm going to tell you, and the reason why this video is late is because NBC, blocked. It was blocked by YouTube because I had some NBC video in here. So I'm still new to the YouTube stuff. So I got to remember that, you can't put in certain video inside your podcast, or you will get blocked by YouTube for being copyrighted. So that's why this video is a little bit late. But since so much stuff has happened since then, it gives me a chance to talk about that. So, really the first half of the Olympics, I think the biggest thing that was so awesome for me is our women's sevens rugby team on the last play of the game. And I inserted that video in NBC, and it got blocked because it was NBC copyrighted. They won the championship on the last, won the bronze medal on the last really play of the game, last 30 seconds. And so that was really, really awesome. And that young lady that ran back and scored, looks like the Australian girl just like threw her over her. And the girl like jumped over her and had a head start on everybody else and just was able to score the tying score, and then they converted with the kick. And so, that the first half of the Olympics has been phenomenal. For those that don't know, I went to the Rio Olympics solo and had the best time literally of my life. It's the best vacation of my life because it's really one of my, if not my favorite country, Brazil. And Rio is one of, if not my favorite city in the world. And so after that experience, I want to go to Tokyo, had the money to go to Tokyo, couldn't go to Tokyo because of the pandemic, but did get a chance, was going to go to Paris if things had worked out financially at the beginning of the year, but it did not. So, it is what it is. But the second half of the Olympics, man, is usually it is track and field. And for me as a track and field coach, I'm happy as a pig in slop. And so what we've seen so far, we've seen Ryan Krauser, first man to win 3 goals in the shot put. We have Sha'Carri Richardson, we have TT Terry, we have Melissa Jefferson from the same training group qualifying for the finals of the 100. Sha'Carri getting second, Melissa getting third, TT getting 5. And Julian Alford, man, I mean, what you gonna say about that? I mean, you can't say anything about that. She came to play, it was raining, but it was raining on everybody. So, you can't really use that. But she just came to play, man. She really came to run, did a great job. First medal of any type in the summer games for St. Lucia ever. They about to get that girl a high school, an airport, a statue, some money. She about to get it all, and she deserves it. She did her collegiate running at the University of Texas, coached by Edric Florial. Coach Flo knows, baby. Coach Flo knows. Here we go, And so you can't be mad at what happened. It went down how it went down. You had the prelims of the men's 100. Noah Lyles getting beat by the NCAA 100-meter champ. A lot of these collegians still got some juice in their legs. And so the finals are going to be today. The other thing I just want to chat about is that mixed 4x4. And here's the thing about the mixed 4x4, and some people might get mad at that we don't win it. If we come in silver and bronze, but the thing is this: our 400 and 400 hurdle individual qualifiers never run that relay. They never run that relay. So our best people never run the relay. And so you have other countries' best people running a relay. Like today, like we broke the world record, the USA did yesterday, but today, when the Netherlands switch out one girl and put in Femke Bol, listen, Femke Bol split 47-9, bro. It's not much you can do with that. I mean, if you had to put in maybe Quincy Watts to run in the Quincy Wilson, excuse me, to run, maybe in Dedrick's spot, maybe. But it looked like she might even have some more left for her legs. They say she may have negative split. In the 400 is broken up into two halves, the two 200s, and usually it's about a 2-second. You run the second 200 2 seconds slower than you run the first 200. They say she ran the second 200 faster than she ran the first 200. That's freakish. I don't know if we could have won that unless we had like 2 or 3 or 4 of our individual qualifiers for the 400 and 400 hurdles in that event. Now, what I am going to tell you is that I see Sydney McLaughlin as a consummate professional, and I know she's going to be prepared to run. But Sid, if you don't really notice, if you watch a lot of the videos like a lot of our track heads do, she got a little chip. She is really, really competitive. And so I know when Femke Bol ran what she ran, Sid was like, oh, okay, you going to do that? Oh, I got something to show you. I got something for you. Sid, I'm going to say with 95% of a surety that Sydney McLaughlin is about to break her world record at least once and win the gold. I'm going to tell you that right now before it even happens. That's my prognostication, right? And so that's that. And so I've been so happy to get a chance to watch the Olympics, man. I love track and field so much. Oh, and I just want to say, the press conference that you see behind you is because of the triple jump. And I just want to say that I was coaching for a club here in the Detroit area, and I never got a chance to compete against him. We were both hurlers, but I was never in his league. He was really, really good. His name is Earl Moore. His daughter is Jasmine Moore. When I was coaching with a club called Motor City Track Club, she ran, even though she was living in Texas, she ran on our track club for the girls 17, 18, 4x1, and we won it that year. And so she popped it up. She could jump, but the child definitely could run too. And I remember one of the conversations I had with the dad, who I saw today on the telecast, giving his baby a hug for winning that gold medal. Her the mom, don't know the mom that well. I don't think I've met her mom. But he was telling me that when Jasmine was in high school, she was power cleaning 145 pounds. I was like, what? And that's before she was a senior. This was her. She was a rising senior when she ran with us, I think. I think she was a rising senior in between her 11th and 12th grade year. So you're talking about you power cleaning 145 as a 17-year-old or a 17-year-old power cleaning 145 pounds? That's kind of gangster. And so you can see that when you have these elite kids, that they are doing something that other kids aren't doing. And if any of my kids ever watch any of my podcasts, y'all got to do the same thing. And so I'm getting a lot of my kids ready. So we got some kids out there. I got one hurdler that she's going to be D1, and we just got to find out where D1 she's going to be. And we got some other kids that got some real mid-major and some high D1 possibility. But I got a hurdler who has some high D1 possibility. And so I'm excited to see Jasmine be the first American woman win an Olympic medal in a triple jump. And so she's up here on the podium right now. So happy for her and her family about doing that. So that was really, really awesome. I think that's all the highlights for the Olympics so far. Of course, we have the track and field, the 200 for the men, the 100 for the men, 200 for the women are starting. We got Sydney McLaughlin in the 400-meter hurdles. We got the 4x4. So I like to end the podcast with something humorous, a very hilarious comic I like to follow. His name is Josh Johnson. He had some funny things to say about Joe Biden dropping out of the race. Take a look at it right here.
I do think it's very important to have an honest conversation about Joe Biden, about his presidency, right? Because this is a thing that people forget about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a granddaddy, okay? So for a president, he seemed slow. He seemed a bit weak and frail. For a granddaddy, he was killing it. All right? Like, really take a step back for a second and think about the granddad. Think about your granddaddy, right? What's on the agenda in a day for your granddaddy? Really be fair. Really be honest with yourself. What do you expect your granddaddy to do in a day? First thing on the docket is to wake up, hopefully. Second, have some jam. Tell some stories. Yeah, I mean, like... watch some Westerns, and then there's some naps to get got, right? You don't fly your granddaddy on 13-hour flights and then make him talk to a whole country and then be like, he doesn't seem up to the job. Like... Because Biden was busy just being a granddaddy. Everyone loves to forget that. We went to Biden as a granddaddy, and we were like, hey, we need you to run. And then he was like, are you sure? And we were like, yeah, we think you're the only one that can do it. Please run. And then he ran, and then he won. And then for 3.5 years, nobody did any homework. Nobody did any building up of any other candidates. Nobody did any real research into who was next up. So then, election time comes along. They're like, hey, we need you again. And he was like... I'm more granddaddy now than I was before.
Thank you for staying around to watch episode 5 of Dark Horse Politics Podcast. We will be coming to you with episode 6 because I am sure that this political season is going to provide something interesting for us to talk about. Everybody have a good one, and we'll see you next time.